It's only right that GotAUkulele covers all price points, so once again we go right back to the absolute entry level. Keep watching. Yeah, welcome back. It's GotAUkulele review day. This is your summary video review. If you look at the link below this video, it'll take you to the website and you'll get a lot more detail about this and many other things. My usual thank yous running across the bottom of the screen for this week. These are people who've donated to help keep the site going. And if you'd like to help out, which is really, really appreciated, and the only reason I can keep going, there's some links below this video as to donation options. I think you can donate directly through YouTube now as well. And if you like what you see, help me out with the subscribe account for this channel. I'll try and get it a bit higher. Hit that subscribe button down there and you'll get notified of new stuff when it comes up. Okay, as I said in the introduction, I've got to review instruments at all price points. Not everybody can justify silly money for instruments, but even some people can't justify, they just don't simply have the disposable income to even go to my sort of level, which is my recommendation, which is to spend over £100. Some people, that's just not an option. So they do get drawn to the very, very cheap instruments, usually on Amazon. And they're all kind of very similar and they're all kind of brightly coloured, and this one's no different. And I do review them from time to time. And occasionally you get a bit of a, not a gem, but something that is pretty passable as an instrument. Not bad. The Macala Dolphin, the Octopus Soprano, the Flight Bumblebee, all pretty decent for virtually no money at all. But unfortunately, more often than not, the vast majority are pretty terrible. Have a look at my full reviews list and you'll find some real howlers there. This one's brought to my attention from a brand I've reviewed before and they've done not bad. This is the Donna Rainbow Series Soprano Kit. Brightly coloured like all the others at this sort of price point. Rainbow because it comes in a range of different colours. I grabbed the purple one. And it's a pretty standard looking soprano. You know the sort of deal if you've seen these before. They're all over Amazon in lots of different brand names. This one's by Donna, who are kind of well known now. Bit of confusion with what it's made of. The product description says that this has got a spruce top, and one part of the product description says it's got maple back and sides, and the another part of the product description says it's got mahogany back and sides. Now it's all laminate woods, of course, and I can't tell which it is because of all of this paint. But, you know, that's actually a step up, because normally these instruments are made of lindenwood, plywood, basswood, something really, really cheap. So laminate spruce, laminate maple, possibly laminate mahogany back and sides. Okay, fair enough. The bridge is wooden, not specified what the wood is, but it's generic hardwood, stained black, screwed in place, bit scruffy on the finishing. Sitting in that is a plastic straight top saddle, also a little bit scruffy on the finishing. It's not the worst I've ever seen, but what I would say is I think this is the wrong choice, considering this is aimed at beginners, because a slot style bridge would be much, much easier. The finish on this one is paint. There are a few little scuff marks around some of the edging, and it looks, because they've over applied it, and it's got a orange peel ripple to it, so it's not really shiny, but it isn't massively pooling, a bit round here, but actually it's not the worst I've ever seen. It's quite a decent uniform coat all over. Not my cup of tea, but as I say, I have seen much worse. The only other decoration, soundhole rosette transfer. Inside, another surprise, it's got curved linings and it's got bracing. Now, that's a surprise, because usually with these sort of instruments, they're built so thick, the woods are so thick, they don't need bracing to hold them together, and they don't need linings on the sides either. This has them, which, that's interesting, that's all I'll say. It is quite scruffy in there, though, in terms of wood shavings and bits and pieces. The neck isn't specified, so no idea how it's constructed. I'll guess it's 3 pieces. I don't know what the wood is. Unsurprisingly and disappointingly, tapers down to a really round Far Eastern profile. Check the measurements in the review. I think it's about 35mm, 27 G2A. Far too narrow for me, far too chunky. But considering this is clearly aimed at kids and beginners, if you've got smaller hands, you'll probably find that all right. But too small for me. That is topped with a composite wood fingerboard, composite because you can see the little strips of wood that it's all glued together into, which is actually pretty neat and pretty tidy, nice and even in colour. Again, seen much worse. It's also edge bound, which is a surprise, so you hide the ends of the frets, and there's a bit of scruffiness here, as you can see, but the other big surprise, no sharp fret ends whatsoever. Really nicely dressed frets on this example, 12 of those. That's a real surprise. This is probably one of the first instruments at this level where I've not had that issue with frets. Position dots at 5, 7 and 10. Sadly, nothing on the side. That's a real omission for a beginner's instrument. Beyond that plastic nut, which is set far too high, that's going to throw out the intonation when we play it, and it's also going to be uncomfortable on beginners' fingers because the strings are so high. Interestingly enough, the action at the 12th is just fine. It's terribly set nut. Crown-ish headstock there with the Donna logo under the gloss, final gloss in silver. The tuners, unbranded, open gears. At least they are small buttons, and the gear mechanisms look half decent, but they are all different tensions. And it comes with a load of extras because it's a kit. It comes with what they claim to be our Aquila strings. These are not Aquila strings. I would put my house on it. They are far too stretchy. It's white nylon. There's no Aquila string tag anywhere in the packaging. They just don't feel like Aquila strings. You get a clip-on tuner. You get a strap that hooks on the sound hole. You get a cleaning cloth. You get a set of picks. And you get another set of strings, which, again, are also not Aquila strings. There's no way that's not Aquila packaging. And all of that comes in at $33.99 in the UK, about $45, $46 in the USA. Strangely, that's not the cheapest instrument I've ever reviewed, but it's cheaper than a Macala Dolphin, and it's certainly down there at that sort of entry level. I'm curious, this is what I can afford on Amazon sort of price point. As I say, they are usually terrible. They are usually absolutely terrible. But I think, as you've seen with me going through this one, it's not been a complete howler. A little bit of scruffiness in the paint finish, but it's not the thickest I've ever seen. It's braced. It's lined. Quite like this fingerboard. The lack of sharp fret ends is remarkable. Interesting. Got to have a play, haven't we? Oh, it's not heavy. It's 420 grams. Balances really nicely as well. I think that high nut is going to mean that everything I play on this is going to sound out of tune, and that's because the action of pushing the strings down that distance will bend them a little bit sharp. And the other reason why I don't think these are Aquila strings is I've been playing this all morning and several takes of this video, and they just keep going out. They're so stretchy. So stretchy. So bear that in mind as well. Oh, what? Volume. That's alright. Perfectly passable on volume. Sustain, not so good. It dies off pretty much immediately. So very plinky plonky. But you can probably tell from that sound, it's not a huge character, but there's a laminate boxiness to it. But it's fairly pleasant. There we are. Sharpness in the notes, that's because the action of my fingers is pulling them tight. No, I'm not gonna be ridiculous. It's not a high-end tone at all. However, it is far better than some I've played, and it is actually playing. It's just too narrow for me. I could get this playing better. I could sort that nut out. I would also change the strings. But then a $33.99 instrument is not a $33.99 instrument anymore, because you've got to factor in the cost and the time. And if you took it to a guitar tech to do the nut for you, you're going to spend probably about as much as the instrument. So that's wrong. But it's an interesting one, because this is just one example. You could buy another and that nut may be okay. Because I think the core instrument is actually put together pretty well. The finish isn't the worst I've ever seen, even though I'm not into brightly coloured finishes. And it's that sound is... No, it's not the best, is it? It's not the best. I don't think it's better than a Macala Dolphin. I don't think it's better than an Octopus. I don't think it's better than the Bumblebee. But it is better than the vast majority of these brightly coloured instruments out there. If this is your market, if this is what you can justify cost-wise, I would look at one of those others over this. But if you were to get this one, I don't think you'd be making a massive mistake if this is your price point. I've got to cover all price points. As I said at the off, it's not fair to assume that everyone can just simply get their hands on 100 plus pounds or even more to get an instrument. It's just not on for some people, certainly not with cost of living as it is at the moment, and has been for quite some time. So for some people this is the justification, and they're wanting to get a kid involved in music. I kind of see why they exist, but I just wish they were all a bit more consistent. I wish the others were up to this sort of spec, because then you get a lot of choice, but it's not quite there. It's not quite tipping over the edge to say, well, absolutely, I'd recommend this alongside a Macala Dolphin. But it's close. It's close. Not a complete howler. I think people saw this on the early sneak peeks I put up and thought, oh, he's going to want to... I should stop playing it when those strings are going out. But I think people thought I was going to want to set fire to it or smash it with a hammer. It's not one of those at all. It's not the worst I've ever seen by any stretch. The Donna Rainbow Series Kit Soprano with all those little bits and pieces, $33.99. It's not a recommendation, but it's I'm not trying to scare you off it either. Sort of halfway house, let's call it that. Anyway, there we are. Bit of fun. Thanks for watching, everybody. I've enjoyed doing that, a little bit of a giggle. Thanks very much for watching and your ongoing support. Wonderful weather out there. Hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend, bank holiday weekend here in the UK, of course. And stay very safe and look after each other in the week ahead. I'm back next weekend with something completely different, and I hope to see you then. Thanks very much. Bye.